Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Figured we'd just go live, kind of see what's what and who's who in the Cryptoverse right now. Bitcoin's coming in at 15.9K. So I'm sure bottom callers are getting nervous once again. Got to be careful as we approach what I would consider to be somewhat of a crescendo. Um, just make sure you stay focused because it can get very difficult. The further in the bear market you go, the more difficult it gets. We're not going to stay live very long, but figured we'd at least come on and talk about a few things. So, I just want to say a few things before we talk about the price. Because listen, we talk about the price all the time. That's really all we ever talk about, And with regards to the lower low, I mean, this was baked into the charts without this contagion, right? Because when we talked about, look, doesn't really seem like the bear market's over because all the other bear markets ended up being a lot worse, and we weren't dealing with high inflation. We weren't dealing with high interest rates. So, something to consider. Right now, Bitcoin's coming in at 15.9, and we are getting somewhat close to retesting the lower bound here. We're currently looking at around a 77% drop from the all-time high. Note that an 80% drop would get us to around that 13.7K level or so. 81% would be 13.1. 82 would be 12.4. 85% drop is at 10K. So look, it's time to pay attention, simply put. And right now you're seeing a massive sell-off, arguably because not that people have given up, it's just they don't know if their crypto is theirs anymore. So what choice do they really have? But again, you got to be careful with centralized platforms. And I just want to say this again, I don't post that stuff. I don't post affiliate links to these centralized platforms because I've seen the same narrative play out time and time again. And simply that narrative is just, people shill these platforms, they end up being scams, they say they're sorry, and then they do it again next cycle. So don't fall for it, right? You got to figure out what works for you. Don't fall for the same, and then there'll be more next cycle too. Okay, so next cycle there'll be more scams once again, and then the bear market will filter those scams out. That's the great thing about the cryptoverse. These bear markets have a way of bringing the scams to the surface, and they are purged from the system. And crypto it does not take kindly to when they've been duped by someone. So be careful with your money. Okay, not your keys, not your crypto. That's why you'll never hear me talking about any centralized platform. Um, and yeah, try to survive one day at a time in the cryptoverse. It's a hell of a place. I mean, it's a hell of a place. And if you think about this journey we've been on this year, I mean, if you think back to January and everything that's happened this year, it's kind of surreal. Like if you think back to the January, February, March rally, the rejection off the 200-day that we talked about, and the idea that we were going to get rejected and go put in a lower low. And then, I was very adamant that June is likely not the bottom. It took a long time to play out, but now we're sort of in free fall again. And a lot has happened this year, and arguably these bear markets make you a better investor. Now, one thing I'd like to say is, one of the things we've talked about this year at length is that, cash is king. And I know not everyone, thinks that advice is sound, but sometimes you have to experience, these bear markets to really know what they're all about. And then the next bear market for crypto, you'll be more prepared. I mean, there'll be more, but I'm sure there'll be more bear markets in the future. It's just a cyclical thing. So in the future, hopefully you will be more prepared for this type of stuff. And you'll notice that the altcoins are getting completely wrecked right now. I mean, a lot of them are simply putting in lower lows. I mean, Solana, Avalanche, Polkadot, Cardano, I mean, they're all just simply putting in lower lows, right? This is why I said back in February, if you want to buy altcoins in 2022, you're probably better off taking a cold shower and and reconsidering, right? Because I mean, the most likely direction for them is down, and that's just been the, I mean, that's just simply been how it has been for the entire year. I mean, a lot of these altcoins can continue to put in new low after new low after new low, and so does Bitcoin. Okay, I mean, again, it's a bear market. We understand that, you know, if cash is king, that means that risk assets are likely going down. If I thought risk assets were going to go up, then certainly cash would not be king. But cash is king generally when risk assets are going down. And of course, Bitcoin, whether we like it or not, is a risk asset. But what kind of questions do you guys have? I'm not going to stay on super long, probably just another 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. But I just wanted to pop in and kind of just watch the chart here a little bit because the low on Bitcoin isn't that far away. And I like to get as many of these on live streams as I can. So it's the low right now is actually at 15,589 and we're currently at 15,888. So, I mean, if we fell another $300 or so, we'd be looking at a new low. Um, so you got to be careful. I mean, like as I said, you got to be careful calling bottoms in these bear markets, especially the ones that tend to last at least a full year, because they tend to just make a fool, right? They make a fool out of you if you try to call bottoms, especially in 2022. Um, Someone says when regulation, probably 2023, and I imagine the stuff with FTX is going to sort of accelerate regulation. At this point, for centralized platforms, it's almost like required, I think, because who among any people here or people who are not even in the cryptoverse right now would trust centralized platforms, considering all the ones that are just dropping like flies because they created native tokens and then levered them at all, and you know, more or less gambled with their customers' money. Who's going to trust centralized platforms without more regulations? I mean, look, crypto I think is all about decentralized finance, and I think that's really the better way to go. But it doesn't change the fact that people are still going to use centralized, or still are going to want to use the convenience of centralized platforms at various points. But in order for them to use it, we're going to have to see more regulation, I think. And I don't think that's, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more of that in 2023. And it's probably going to affect the altcoin market a lot harder than it's going to affect Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. Yeah, I mean, as we said before, you need price-based capitulation. You also need time-based capitulation. We are getting pretty far into the bear market. Doesn't mean it's over yet. I don't think it's over, but you have to be patient. When do I think the market will get bullish? I mean, to be completely honest, well, I mean, we'll probably see some bullish months in 2023, but I don't think the market's going to get really bullish until 2024, 2025. That's the truth. I mean, I'm not going to tell you something I don't believe. I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. Doesn't mean you're not going to see a few bullish months in 2023, but you're still looking, you're likely looking at a somewhat sideways 2023. It could go down some more, but we could also pop back up. The point is whatever happens in 2023 is likely not going to be that interesting for a majority of people, and that's where people usually tune out. That's usually the time you load up in preparation for the next bull market. So try and hang in there. I know it's a brutal bear market. It takes forever. It goes on forever. Everyone just wants to tune out and forget about crypto. But just take it one day at a time. And also remember, you can, I mean, you can just sort of like do something else for a while and then come back. Like you don't have to, you could leave for a couple weeks, then come back, check in, see how things are going. Someone in the Telegram group earlier, so I was like, all right, I've been gone for a few weeks. What happened? It's like, well, you know, the entire cryptoverse is melting down because the second largest exchange was essentially gambling with customers' money. If you've been affected by it, you know, my condolences go out. I mean, I know it's a difficult thing losing money in those platforms. Um, you know, there's not really a way to sugarcoat it. It sucks. It doesn't mean that all crypto is bad. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin is bad, and Bitcoin is not responsible for the fraud and greed that exists within the space. So I don't think it makes sense to sort of tie Bitcoin to what these other, you know, to what some of these other people are doing. How do we know a decentralized exchange can't get rug pulled by the creators? It's a good question. You really want, I mean, it's good to have audits on these exchanges, on these decentralized platforms. A lot of the decentralized platforms that popped up in the bull market would just sort of copy other code of other decentralized platforms, and where you had to get tricky was some of them would sort of change some of the code subtly. So if you just diffed the code between, one decentralized exchange to another, you might see like sort of a difference, and that was usually a red flag, especially since most of them just copied each other. Um, but I mean, audits are probably the way to go. And honestly, just time. Like if a decentralized exchange can just exist for a few years and people are still using it and there haven't been any major issues, then it's more likely to be good than ones that are relatively new. The same thing with centralized platforms. I mean, again, I'm not shilling any centralized platforms, and I've never posted an affiliate link, but I will say the centralized platforms that survive this are going to be seen by the masses as a lot more secure, and they're going to trust those probably more than whatever new things pop up, because if they can survive this, then they can probably survive a lot of other things. This is a pretty big event to survive. Okay, so you're going to see which platforms are actually like legitimate platforms, because not all centralized platforms are bad, and I don't mean to say that. But you will see which ones are actually legitimate and which ones were just sort of going full degen with their customers' money. Um, no, I'm not going to give out any specific recommendations. Um, any other questions? All-time high in 2025? I don't know. Honestly, I mean, we'll see. We'll see where the low is. I think that's the thing. I mean, a lot of it depends on where the low is, and it also depends on what the Fed does and how high inflation stays. So there's a lot of variables that go into that, and the answer, like it's going to depend on a lot of things that occur between now and then. If we go the way of the worst case scenario that we've outlined before, like we outlined it in February and we've done a few videos, then arguably we won't. If it doesn't get that bad and crypto holds whatever its next low is, then it still has a chance. If crypto does not hold whatever its next low is and has a lower low later on, then the odds go down. So I think the jury's still out on that, but um, I mean, right now the market conditions still don't really look that great. I mean, like everyone, a lot of people don't like the idea of just like a simple strategy of just saying cash is king and stack cash in 2022. But I mean, if that's all you did, you're probably doing pretty well and you're probably pretty happy. Sometimes doing nothing is better than coming up with some complicated plan in a fairly long crypto bear market. What other questions do we have? If you could only use three indicators to time the market, which would you use? Probably the risk indicators. I have a social risk indicator that I just made a video on. We have an on-chain risk indicator. I also have a price metric indicator and then a summary risk indicator that combines all three. So I'd probably mostly use those because I think those are the most telling. Will alts bottom with Bitcoin or after Bitcoin? Some will likely bottom with Bitcoin, but not most of them. I think there's a good chance that most of them could still bleed, because remember, a lot of the coins that exist this cycle will not be anything next cycle. There's going to be new shiny objects that people are going to like that are likely going to be iterations or improvements upon the projects from the last cycle, or at least claimed improvements. So some alts will bottom with Bitcoin, but a lot won't, and a lot will just continue to bleed. I mean, that's the truth. I'm not. I mean, there's tens of thousands of cryptocurrencies now. They're not all just going to bottom with Bitcoin and bounce back up. A lot of them are just going to die. What other questions do we have? Is Cardano falling with Bitcoin? Yeah. I mean, it's a falling knife, right? They're all falling. A lot of them are falling. Everyone's like, I know it's one of the things that I get frustrated with people asking about what altcoins to buy. Remember, as long as people keep asking, it's probably not a good time. It's when they're no longer asking. Someone says, why isn't Polkadot falling more? I mean, come on, man. It's $5.50. What is that, 90% down from the all-time high? Yeah, like, come on. Let's not rationalize. It's 90 it's 90% down from the all-time high. Um, what am I doing right now? I've told you guys what I'm doing this year. Hasn't been that complicated, right? Cash is king. Yeah, I don't know what those latest tweets mean. Um, what coins will make it through the bear market? Well, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum. The other ones, you could make a case either way. Um, but I think Bitcoin and Ethereum, as always, are the blue chips, and those are the ones that should exist from one cycle to another. And then the altcoins, you take your picks, but there's obviously no guarantees. Of course, there's no guarantees with anything, but someone says, is this the worst bear market that we've ever had? I mean, in terms of price drawdown, it's the best one so far, right? Because the price drawdown from the all-time high is only 77%. The first bear market was 94, the second one was 87, the third one was 84. So far, this one's only 77. Now, in terms of events, it's been pretty bad just because of the number of people affected. But in terms of price drawdown from the all-time high, it's actually been a relatively tame bear market so far. It doesn't mean it's not going to reach the levels that other ones have reached, but so far it's been a relatively tame bear market. But I mean, again, it can get pretty nasty the further you get into it, and moves can happen quite quickly. Someone's asking me to explain what I mean by cash is king. I mean, basically, the point is that, like, if you put your cash in any, like, basically most things, if you put your cash into this year, they're just simply losing value. So it just shows that just keeping it in cash would have been a lot better. Even though you're losing value to inflation, it's certainly better than losing 90% in the crypto market. I'm not. I don't recommend putting cash on an exchange. No. Yeah, when I say cash, I mean USD. Doesn't diminishing returns mean that one day the return will be so slim that no one will be bothered to buy? I mean, like, diminishing returns in crypto are still relatively attractive returns when you compare to a lot of other assets. And I said that last cycle too. I mean, even when we went into the last cycle thinking about diminishing returns, um, even though we knew we'd likely see diminishing returns, which, by the way, a lot of people didn't. I mean, if you go back to 2021, most people were calling for 300K at the beginning of the year, but they were assuming we would not see diminishing returns. But diminishing returns is just sort of an artifact of a maturing asset class, and I think it makes sense that you're going to see it. Um, Look, diminishing returns with crypto are still returns, and they're still a lot better than you'll find a lot of other places, as long as you're not YOLOing every step of the way in the bear market. Um, Yeah, Bitcoin's not really moving right now. I wasn't sure if it was going to move or not. I saw it. I saw it sort of falling here. It looks like it's gone all the way down to about 15.8, which is only a few $100s higher than the low. I mean, I still think the altcoin market has a long way to drop. I mean, if you look at total two, or sorry, no, let's look at yeah, we can look at total two. If you look at total two, which is everything but Bitcoin, I mean, to get back to the 2019 high, it's like a 69% drop for Bitcoin, it's only a 12% drop, 12 or 13% drop. I think altcoins are going to make up some of that room in the not so distant future. I mean, they already are. I mean, they are. I mean, you can see they're just slowly bleeding. They're continuing to bleed. They're just bleeding day in and day out. And the dominance of Bitcoin, I know when you include stable coins, it's still sitting at 40%. But if you exclude stable coins, it's actually been going up all year. And this is, I mean, I've made plenty of videos about this. You know, if you go to this chart and you look at the dominance without stable coins, this is what it looks like. It's been putting in higher lows, you know, all year, slowly moving higher, right? Really slow, but it is slowly moving up. I mean, a lot of alts are bleeding. I mean, look, even though on their Bitcoin pairs, they're down. Like ADA Bitcoin's down, Ethereum Bitcoin's down, Dot Bitcoin's down, Link Bitcoin's down, Unibit. I mean, a lot of these are down on the day already. And again, yeah, you're not seeing the dominance go up yet with this metric when you include stables because people are going back to stables. But if you go and look at it without stables, the dominance has been putting in higher lows, you know, for the entire year. Sort of the low it went over here was like 41, and then this low over here was like 42, and then this one over here was like, you know, 44.6. We recently, you know, went a little bit higher. I mean, if you zoom in, this one was like 44.49, and then the next low that we just hit was 44.59. So right, it was just a little bit higher than this one. So again, so far it's still putting in higher lows, even though this one is still sort of sitting around 40% because it includes stables. All right, sorry if you're spamming. I gotta remove you. We don't do the spam here. Thoughts on a double bottom? This doesn't really look like a double bottom. I mean, we're like what? I mean, we're more than 10%. I mean, yeah, this is a 12% drop from the prior low. So I know some people are thinking that this is just simply a double bottom, but I don't really see the case for it. I mean, so this one over here was only, you know, I mean, it was like, what, 6% higher or so? Uh, so far, this low right now is the prior low was about 12% higher. I'm not really seeing the double bottom here. I know that is a popular theory among some people, but if it is a double bottom, I don't think this would be the double bottom. It would be like whatever this low is, and then maybe it'll double bottom later, whatever this low ends up being. But I don't think that this would be considered a double bottom. All right, my friends. I told you I was going to keep it short. I'm going to stay to that. If you guys are new, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and again, check out the sale. We have the Into the Cryptoverse Premium, intothecryptoverse.com. Links down in the description below. But I'm going to head out. We'll probably make a video tomorrow, and you'll see another video on my channel. But I just wanted to pop in, say hello, take a look at the price, and just talk a little bit. But all right, guys. Thank you, guys. See you guys next time. Bye.